We are here today with pediatrician Dr. J.J. Levenstein to talk about when to worry. There's so many different things that parents start to worry about as their baby starts to grow.
That's true. And in previous episodes here, we have talked about when to worry with your infant and very young child. Today, I'm going to take you through toddlerhood. And these are the years when your kids may not be terribly verbal, may not be able to communicate to you how they're feeling. So there are certain symptoms, signs, and things to look for that I can clue you into that might spur you to give your doc a call if you are worried. First, just in general, one of the biggest things that we worry about as pediatricians is when growth or development seem to take a screeching halt. For example, with growth, if your doctor observes or if you observe that your child suddenly is not gaining weight appropriately, growing in height appropriately, or your child's head is not growing commensurate with their body. Those are areas of concern because sometimes children don't have symptoms, but they may actually have signs that we see in the office that would lead us to the source of why that is occurring. Because failure of growth at any point in early childhood means that the brain is going to be deprived of critical nutrients that help development move forward. So we want to make sure any failure to thrive, failure to grow is certainly looked at. Now, a caveat to that is that after year one of life, when the brain growth slows down dramatically, the brain grows 180% the first year and 20% the second year.
Wow.
So brain growth drives appetite. And in the first year of life, kids eat like they have a wooden leg. They just eat and eat and eat and eat to support brain growth, and their body triples in weight. However, in year two, nature throws you a curveball, and kids only grow 2 to 3 pounds in the second year, but 2 to 3 inches. So they go from butterball to string bean, and their appetite plummets like crazy. So in that circumstance, around the first birthday, if a parent notices a plummeting of appetite, but a child who continues to get faster, leaner, stronger, smarter, and continues to be healthy, that definitely is a growth slowing we're not going to worry about. But your own healthcare provider can certainly reassure you about that. Development is also an area that we hone in on so acutely in the first few years as the brain tapestry is getting more elaborate and more interconnected. And so if there is a stalling of development, if suddenly a child gets to, say, their 6-month or 9-month milestones and then doesn't progress to the next milestone, that certainly is a cause for concern.
Yeah.
Occasionally and rarely, children will actually lose milestones. So they may achieve certain things like walking and talking, and then all of a sudden back down and lose that and stop walking, stop talking, or have minimal interaction with their parents. And those are instances in which a doctor should know immediately if those milestones are lost. Mm-hmm. And lastly, just in terms of social development, it's so important on all of our minds to monitor our children with appropriate expectations for how they interact with us. So at first, when a baby looks at you with anticipation at 4 to 6 months of age, starts to echo your language, starts to play back when you're clapping and they clap back, comes to you for comfort, looks to you for reassurance when they're mastering a new skill, those are all normal parent-child social interactions. And if we see that a child gets stalled in that realm or doesn't progress in that realm, doesn't anticipate a parent helping them, doesn't go to a parent for help or assistance, doesn't smile in reaction to a parent's smile, or react emotionally to anything, we do have a large area of concern that their social, emotional development in the brain may be slowed for whatever reason. And there are many, many reasons, autism being one, but also things like hearing deficits and chronic illness that's unrecognized. Those things can dull a child's social interaction. So those are sort of global things as a pediatrician that we look at. The last thing in general terms is just the child's environment. And when we look into a child's environment and we look at a family in crisis, for example, a family who's having financial stress or having stress with loss of family members, shifts of caregivers, smokers, parents or caregivers who have addiction issues or depression or mental illness, we know that if a house is unstable in those realms, that may reflect directly on how a child does, not only emotionally but also physically.
Yeah.
because we want to make sure in circumstances where a household is in crisis or at high risk that the child's basic needs, including emotional connection, love, and nurturing, are taken care of. So if your doctor or healthcare provider starts to question you, or if you share some things that are happening with your family and your doctor has more questions in depth, don't be afraid to answer them absolutely frankly, because your child's emotional, social, and physical development depends on a content, nurturing environment, whether it's with parents, whether it's with caregivers, whether it's a combination of all. And lastly, just in terms of safety of environment, we're always on the prowl, making sure that houses are smoke-free, that pools are gated, that all the things necessary to keep the child's environment safe are there. Because if safety is an issue in a household or even in a neighborhood, then a child can't get out to play safely, or may have we have to make sure that if a child can't go out to play safely because the environment around the home is in stress, or if the home itself is unsafe, for example, an ungated pool, we have to be vigilant, and the parents have to be extra vigilant about making sure that every little minute of that child's day is observed. We don't want preventable accidents to happen. So those are the generalities from a pediatrician standpoint. And now we'll talk about the specifics of what to look for in your child, head to toe, that would trigger the need for you to pick up the phone and talk to your healthcare provider.
So there really are a lot of things to be thinking about, and not every pediatrician, of course, is going to know the answers to all of those different realms.
Correct.
But what you can do is talk to your pediatrician about all of the concerns that you do have, and they may be able to connect you with somebody else who can help.
No, it's true, and I think sometimes we're limited in the amount of time that we have in office visits, and sometimes our day just gets away from us, so it's very difficult sometimes if you have a delicate subject or something's coming up in your family that requires more time. Just give your pediatrician the heads up and maybe arrange a telephone call or another appointment just to discuss your concerns, because again, the global areas of your child's development have everything to do, of course, with vaccines and feeding and safe cribs and a safe environment. But if the home itself is in crisis, that's a very, very important part of ensuring that your child has the attention they need, and you as a parent have the attention you need as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.